Well, it was a great question anyhow, Tom. Well, and Francesca wants to know, do you feel that it's an interesting point because of when the show premiered, do you feel that your portrayals of the characters would have been influenced by what fans were commenting on social media back in 2001 before we really even had Facebook? And do you think that not only your portrayals, but do you think that would have influenced the direction of the show overall? Kristin, why don't you start on that?
Yeah, well, it's interesting. Like back in the olden days when they just had forums, there's actually a term for this that I can't remember the name of right now, but I would sometimes go and find like the worst things people would say about me and like just immerse myself in like those horrible comments. And I guess it's a roundabout way of saying I don't know how much influence that had then on my work, and now having people have the opportunity to kind of comment all the time, I feel like it would just become noise in the background. But I'm sure that social media would have had more of an effect on our show. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. I agree with both, I think.
Agreed.
Yeah, how about you, Tom?
I don't get it.
Yeah. Well, one of the questions in here, Lindsay Amos asks this, and this is something that I think it comes up a lot at Comic Cons about anything taken from the set of the show, along with, I think another popular question is sort of pranks that you played on one another. That's a popular question. So you can respond to those, but in addition, I'm just kind of curious about your take as to why you think people ask those twofer questions, why those are so popular questions at cons, why people want to know that.
I think one of the themes that made the show successful was how do we make each scene even better? And I think somehow we all had that mentality. And, even though I may have been there more often, it was so cool that I was working with different actors all the time because every actor brought something different. So if I was working with Kristin, it was like, oh, cool, I'm working with Kristin. And then Mike would show up and like, cool, I'm working with. And so for me, I may have been there longer, but all these people made it all happen. I couldn't have done it just because I was there. And I think you get all those different flavors and shades with the same idea of like elevating the material and doing the work. And enjoying the process is a lot of fun. There's times when like, hey, listen, it's 3:30 in the morning. We're probably going to go to 6:30. Everybody just needs to, shut the fuck up and like do their job. And then there's other times where it's like, you know what? This is a very intense scene, but like a little joke here and there gets everybody in the same rhythm. Michael's really good at that.
Well, I was always playing, like you guys know. I mean, I was playing such an intense character. It was such the opposite of me. Brain-wise, money-wise, all these things that for me, the way I worked was I had to be goofing off until we were rolling because otherwise I would go insane. I mean, it's just so intense. I'm not used to wearing suits and ties and living in a castle and driving fast cars. So if I stayed with that character too much, I think I would have just lost. I mean, I probably did lose my mind a couple of times, as you know, Tom. Remember that time when someone broke into my van?
Yes.
I went outside at 6 a.m. My alarm went off, and I was in the middle of like straight jacket, crazy legs.
If you're allowed to tell that story right now, it would be awesome.
Dude, I like took this. What do they call it? That you hang your clothes up in a not clothing line, clothesline. In a closet.
Rod.
A rod. Thank you for. Wow, I wish it was a bigger word. And then I took it out and I ran to the van at like 6 a.m. and my friend Tom and Deneen were crashing there, and they were back, and I go. And I went to I saw the glasses broken in my van, and I opened up the van, and I was like, the guy was in my van. And I'm like, get the F out of my van, you smacking the thing. Get out of my van, I'm going to beat the shit out of you.
He hit his own van.
I had a van. And my friend Tom goes, dude, keep him in your van. I'm calling the cops. Get in the van. Stay in the van. And I was going nuts. And then the guy had the audacity sitting there going, while we're waiting for the cops, like, hey, man, you got to smoke? No! What's wrong with you? I got to smoke. You know, so it was like, it was an intense time. I remember that. Like I mean, I honestly was so upset. Like the guy broke into my van.
You wrapped for the day after that, or did you have to go back to film?
Well, I had to work 2 hours later. What's funny is the cops came to.
I just kind of hope that this guy is watching the stream somewhere. That you turned him into a fan, and
Look on Basin Street. I'm not sure he's watching this.
I got a quick story for you.
Hey, I love your show, and you look back and go, really?
Yeah, I should.
You think this is what I got to do if I'm on a hit show? I got to rob these guys.
Really? Thank you, sir. Thank
you, guys.
I mean, that's also the benefit of being on a show before social media was really a thing, because that would have been all over TMZ. Kristin, you have anything that you would like to add to that?
What are we talking about?
Apparently, altercations with people breaking into your home or vans.
No, I think that I mostly just came to work and then I left work. I don't know any of these pranks. I feel like I was totally out of the loop. But I like hearing the stories.
Well, you know, I think it's interesting. First off, Vancouver's a lovely place. And when you guys were there, it was pretty much you and Supernatural. And then actually, Tom, when you were doing Lucifer, I don't recall if they were back in LA or if you were filming in Vancouver. Were you?
We were in LA.
You were in LA. Okay. Well, I mean, having made any return trips to Vancouver since, is it a little bit wild to you that it's essentially now CW Central, that the whole town is dominated by the industry and by these shows?
Well, I've been back to Vancouver.
Yeah, Vancouver's the best. It's beautiful. It's so I guess that's why I was really just going to work, is that I lived in Vancouver. It was my home. My friends from high school were there. I lived at my parents' house for a long time when we started the show. So my life kind of just continued, but it's such a beautiful city, and it sucks that a lot of you guys didn't get the chance to experience it as a place, not a place that you worked.
Right.
And yeah, it's just so wonderful.
Well, because even Rosenbaum would fly in, work, fly out. Like there was never really time. You got a houseboat for a while in the water, but I don't know if you were there.
Yeah, I was in a houseboat for a year, and that was a terrific time. And I got to see a lot of the beauty. But like, you know, again, Kristin, you know, lives there. Her family was there, and we were there 10 months a year. And it's like, you know, you wanted to kind of go back home. It's being home. There's a difference. Being in your house, being out, you know. And I didn't really have that. And Tom, you know, you're constantly working, so you're not hanging out with anybody except that one time we went to Seinfeld to see Seinfeld.
That's right.
That was the only time, like no social media.